Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. This is the YouTube channel all about blockchain games, so please subscribe if you are interested in this sort of thing. So this is actually a pretty old now blog post from Axie Infinity, and I kept meaning to do it, and I've never got round to doing a video about it. So apologies for that. It's now almost 2 months old. This is from November 25th, 2020. But this is looking at the Axie Infinity token, the AXS token. So this token was launched in November last year, and doesn't really have any any kind of function at the moment. So it's designed to be a governance token, amongst other things. One thing about the governance element of the token is that you'll be able to kind of vote on things as we see governance tokens in DeFi applications and that sort of thing. So it provides the community with a way of interacting with the developer and shaping the future of the product. But one interesting thing that we see with the AXS, the Axie Infinity Shard token, is what they call this this community treasury. So I have thought it's kind of time to dig into this a little bit. So as I say, the token's been launched. It's available on Ethereum through Uniswap, but these kind of functions are not built out yet. So how does this kind of thing work? Well, we've seen a lot of these over the years in white papers. We have the token sits in the middle of basically all these value flows. So there's players who are playing the game, they're spending in the game, and they're going to get essentially some of this token back for what they do in the game. Revenues from the game flow into this treasury, and people who hold the token, so people who own the token, potentially also get some share of this community treasury. They stake their tokens into the community treasury as well, and they govern how the game works. So you basically get these flows around it. So that's nothing particularly new, but it's worth going into some detail. So once it's live, it's not live at the moment. 100% of all fees and primary sales from the Axie universe will go into the treasury. So what does that mean? At the moment, if you buy and sell Axies, there's a 4.25% fee on those purchases, and there is also this breeding fee. So if you're breeding Axies, it costs a certain amount of ETH to breed. So you can see here when this was written over the last month, that was 400 ETH. Obviously, ETH wasn't worth $1,400 then; it was probably about half that. But we can see already, although Axie isn't a big game, there's enough activity around this for this to generate a reasonable sum of money. Now this would be what that would be, getting on for $600,000. So what's happening here is that as it says here, if this community treasury was live, there'll be this amount of ETH deposited into it, because that's the share that the token holders receive. Think of it almost as a company. That's the sales that the Axie Infinity as a game is receiving, but the developer doesn't get that because it's a blockchain game. People who own the token, that's how they become to some degree like they're shareholders. Not really, they're not shareholders in the sense that there's any shares in this. There are shares in the company, but that's not how blockchain works. But that's the equivalent. Is they hold the token. The token provides them a share of the revenue, of the ongoing revenue of the game. So this is already obviously this is going to go up or down depending on what's going on. But that is what's happening. And what's interesting is Axie can do what they call a primary sale. So they have in the past created these MEO Axies. It basically means they're creating Axies new Axies never been seen before with new body parts, and they sell them off. So 100% of that value would go into the treasury. But generally, what's going on there is people trading. So as people buy and sell, general activity in the game is going to be what drives the community treasury. So as they say here, this is what's interesting. So the community treasury provides a base value for the token. So obviously there's a certain amount of tokens out there. People can see there's a certain amount of money going into the treasury, and people can do. I mean, everyone's sort of done this in the normal world. You do a discounted cash flow sort of situation where you can see this cash is coming into the company, and if you, depending on how many years you base it over, you can work out roughly what people think the value of a share would be. In this case, we're not talking about shares, we're talking about tokens, but this basically provides, because there's a flow of revenue coming into the treasury, and then a flow of revenue, and then a number of tokens kind of based against that that value, you can kind of start to get an idea of at least a minimum market cap. Because if the value of all the tokens out there was worth less than what's in the treasury, or the flows into the treasury, then people would obviously go, well, that's a buying opportunity. I'm going to buy some of those tokens because they're giving me access to this revenue flow. So that's basically how there are companies in the real world where the share price could be under the kind of capitalization price for various reasons. In blockchain, it's probably less likely to happen. So this is kind of interesting. So they're saying here, if there were 5,000 ETH in the treasury, it wouldn't make sense for the circulating market cap of AXS token to be significantly lower than this, since over time the money in the treasury is going back to the stakers. So that's basically the people who are holding the coin. This isn't. I don't think this is necessarily agreed yet. But Delphi Digital, who are one of the company behind who designed some of these what we call tokenomics, horrible word. They proposed sending 5% of the community treasury to the stakers each week. So if the treasury is 100 ETH, then under this proposal, 5 ETH would be shared between the people who have staked their ASX tokens into the treasury, basically lock them up into the treasury. So this provides, as long as everything's going in the right direction, as long as Axie is growing, I suppose this provides a value. And even if it's not growing, you'll still get flows of revenue in there. So this is kind of interesting in terms of how you build a kind of a token value. Obviously, as things go on, then the Axie Infinity game will change. There's land coming in. There's lots of ways it could go. And then there may be other things that the kind of the audience, the people who hold these tokens vote for. You could have cosmetic sales, so basically making your Axies look cool, and certainly things in the land that look cool. Animations. We could have tattoos. We could have people using Axie Infinity for their own games. So cuts from that. Tournaments. Obviously. Axie Infinity at the moment is a fighting game. You take 3 Axies and you battle them to see who wins. You could have kind of people paying in to win $1 million in the tournament and get fees from that. So plenty of other things. None of this is particularly outrageous at all. And here we have the staking as well. So a portion of staking issuance will be directed towards community treasury. If this proportion is high, 35% gradually tapers over time. So I wouldn't say I understand what is going on here. It looks like you have to read that in a bit more detail. I'm not going to go into all that now. So there we go. It is interesting that basically these are ways of kind of sharing the economic success of a game with the people who are embedded in the game. So there's different ways. Obviously, you can interact with Axie Infinity. You can you have to own 3 Axies to play it. You can now actually rent Axies. You don't have to actually own them because they're getting quite expensive. So there are people playing the game and they're winning battles and gaining the small love potion, which is also a token which can be bought and sold. So there's a way of kind of earning money in that. If you earn these NFT, if you have Axies, the NFTs they can go up in value. Obviously, you can buy and sell them. And also then there's this token, this AXS token, which is holding everything together and allowing people to kind of draw in kind of revenue flows from the activity in the game, a bit like a share, but it's not exactly the same as a share. Certainly legally, it's not the same. Obviously, this kind of stuff is not investment advice. The best thing to do is to with blockchain games is not to invest in them, is to play the games that you really enjoy and you understand. So I wouldn't tell people to invest in this sort of stuff unless they are playing Axie Infinity and unless they kind of committed to the future of it, and most importantly they're enjoying it. So that would be my conclusion to that. Just for disclosure, I have some AXS tokens, but I play Axie Infinity. I support the project as I kind of can with my limited resources. So I think it's something that I'm kind of happy to have a small stake in and see how it goes in the future. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Check out the full details. I'll put the link into the show notes so you can read more about how this kind of stuff works and ponder it. But thanks for watching. See you again soon.